but plenty of talent in wide receiver.
Play action. Rutgers going to take a shot. Down the seam. Boston! Got it! Touchdown, Huskies! Boston has his moment, and Washington's on the board.
Yeah, and for the Husky fans, this is almost an exact replay of the touchdown that Giles Jackson had a week ago in the Apple Cup, except this time.
Utah in the Las Vegas Bowl. Having trouble finishing drives to begin this year. I'd say right now they're having trouble starting. And this is fumbled. Jumped on top of in the backfield. And I think the Wildcats recovered it.
We got that no defensive lineman pressure look coming.
And it blows up the play.
Early fumble, even though you recovered it.
4 drives, 1 first down. Punt off the side of the foot of Luke Akers. And Boston able to stay on his feet into plus territory.
Again.
Yep. DeGraff, the tight end, setting an edge. Boston has another touchdown.
Anticipation on this throw, and we see Boston, see the little shift to the stack, puts a cornerback in a bad position, but I got to tell you, man.
Run out the clock last week. Lausch running out of time and can't get away. Boy Tunuufi.
Kurtz has got all kinds of space on the left side of the formation.
Can Lausch find him? This pass is picked. Receiver stumbled, and Carson Bruener comes away with it.
Yeah, and Bruner's got his eyes on Lausch the whole time, and you know, he takes that look back too, and he can see A.J. Henning coming on that route. That's really just understanding the way that tight end in that I formation lined up as a fullback. He's moving pretty good.
Rutgers completes underneath to Coleman. Coleman hurdling a would-be tackler inside the 20 in a spectacular move.
Lots of ways to make guys miss. You can run through them, around them, jump over them. Love seeing that. Get your quarterback into the game. Do something a little exciting.
That'll take us to the end of the third quarter.
But Hunter did a nice job.
Rutgers handoff to the goal line. Touchdown, Huskies.
Yeah, we'll talk more about some of the impact.
Whoa! Yeah, we saw the same thing. Lausch, 8 for 24, just 53 yards. Lausch escapes the pocket. Pass intercepted. In and out of the hands of C.J. Johnson. And Kamori
nice new carpet. How are we doing? Great.
Rutgers alum Steve Belichick and Guy Carpet.
That's all I got left.
All right, go ahead.
Let's do this.
So as a Rutgers alum, how would you describe your football career in Piscataway?
It was great. I had a great time. I really appreciate Coach Shiano and the guys that were there with me. It was an awesome experience, and yeah, wouldn't have traded for anything.
How did that opportunity come about? Because you played lacrosse for your first 4 years at Rutgers and then walked on your last year in 2011, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad, Coach Shiano, have always had a good relationship, and then while I was down there, developed a relationship with Coach Shiano, as well as Bob Frazier, who works on their staff, who worked in New England in 2019, who both those guys are great mentors for me. Spent a lot of time with Frazier when he was in New England in 2019, and as well when I played at Rutgers. So, it just kind of, it was, I don't remember exactly the steps of how it worked out, but it was great.
Coach Shiano talked, I think, yesterday about how he'd kind of give you some coaching projects and stuff too, whether that was scouting or whatever. Just curious kind of what those were and maybe how valuable that was for you to get to do that while you were still in school. Yeah, it was very valuable. Yeah, I worked with Coach Shiano and Bob Frazier, like I was saying, and yeah, just kind of learning college football and their process, which every place is different, good or bad. Every place is different, so it was great to learn from those guys. Really appreciate them. Also, Billy Miller, who's head coach at IMG now. He was down there, so developed a lot of good relationships. Coach Halfley, who was with BC, and then in the NFL now. So a lot of good relationships there, and just little stuff to help out and do what I could to learn and try and grow.
What was one lesson that you kind of took from being around Greg Shiano's program?
I mean, yeah, I learned a lot, but Coach Shiano's a family-oriented guy, and he's a hard worker. So he shows you love when you work hard, and he shows you he makes you tougher when you cut corners, and I really appreciate that from him. You get that from a lot of people, but specifically with him, he kept me in check and put pressure on me to be a better version of myself, and I'll always be indebted to him for that.
Almost no player has played at SHI Stadium. For someone who hasn't been in that environment, what is it like to play at Rutgers in that stadium?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, every stadium is different. I don't know if there's a specific word or phrase to describe it, but no, it's great. It's great.
Steve, did you ever get in games at Rutgers?
No.
No.
No, I got in 2 thumb surgeries at the end of the lacrosse season, so I was just kind of doing as much as I could and being around those guys.
When that season wrapped up, was that your last experience with college football until you got here?
Yes.
Brennan, there were a couple bad snaps last weekend. How have you worked to correct that over the course of this week?
Yeah, it's a huge focus this week, and I kind of like this format of this meeting. We got to get a practice in, so obviously huge emphasis on that pre and post, and obviously during. That's something we got to get cleaned up, and working diligently towards that. So we know that this week is going to be a challenge with the cadence. I'm sure they're going to be all fired up out there in New Jersey. So we got a lot of things to focus on this week.
How'd you feel like Max McCree came out of his first start?
Yeah, he had a rough start to get going, but then kind of settled in and kind of played like we thought he would. So there's a little pregame or early game jitters that we had to work through. But overall, pretty solid. So for his first go at it in a kind of a backup role, it was after the start, it was okay.
What does Swanee or Max need to do to really establish themselves as the number 1 left tackle?
It's really all about consistency and just being able to be the same guy each and every down out there, and just be able to trust what we're doing. Both those guys have been working like crazy to get to earn that role, and so I appreciate that. But we got a long way to go, and we'll just kind of see how practice plays out this week. determine reps and stuff like that.
Sorry, Steve, for you, what stands out about Coleman, a guy, the Rutgers running back, is what makes him such an effective back?
Yeah, I mean, he's got he does a lot of things well. He really gets vertical into the defense, runs downhill, runs behind his pads, quick, strong, but yeah, really doesn't run sideways very often, and he's a tough guy to tackle. So really builds momentum through the line of scrimmage, and once he gets going, he's a hard guy to bring down. But yeah, he's a really good player. They got good backs, both backs.
Brennan, you mentioned the cadence and working on that this week. How do you kind of manage the reps knowing that you're still going to kind of go through that rotation at center while you kind of build that chemistry with Will and working on that throughout this week?
Yeah, well, it's balanced just kind of like we've done throughout spring and or at the end of spring, excuse me, and then into the summer and fall. We'll keep the same balance going. They both need to get reps at it. When we've been able to give both guys a chance to get in there, they've played better than having to leave them out there for a long time. So we still like the format, and we'll probably stick with it going forward. But we think it's the best fit for us.
Extenuating circumstances aside, with Max coming in, how close is he to being the guy that you envisioned when you started recruiting him out of Iowa Central, and how close is he to being the guy that you want to be?
He's getting there. He's made some great improvements. He was coming off of not playing for a year, and then really just had the spring to kind of get back into it. So I would assume that there's more development there. There's more potential in there, and just getting back in a college program where there's weight room and meal plans and the whole thing. So I think he's going to be a huge benefit of all that, and so we're glad we got him for a couple more years. We'll keep developing all of our guys. Our guys are young. Even Drew over there at the right side. This is his second season playing. So we like the potential going forward, and we're going to try to get him as good as we can. Right now, obviously, it's most important, but we'll keep pushing.
Steve, you guys did a much better job with that running quarterback last week versus the Apple Cup, obviously. Can you talk about just kind of some changes you guys made and emphasized to make sure you can get burned twice in a row by a running QB?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, as a coaching staff, we just did a better job, getting the players ready to go. And then the execution on the field was better. But, just everybody on defense just understanding a little bit better, which starts with the coaches. And then those guys going out, playing faster, and, being ready to go.
Is with the new scheme, is communication still kind of an issue out there, even this early in the year?
I wouldn't say it's an issue, but it can always be better. It'll never be, never be where it needs to be. It's always got to get better. It always has to improve. And then as the season goes, you want to get better at everything you do: fundamentals, communication, execution, all that stuff. So it'll never get to where it should be, but I wouldn't say it's an issue.
And how do you feel about your pass rush after 4 games? And who are the guys that you feel like you can really count on to get after the quarterback?
I got trust in all those guys. That's why we put them in the game. But yeah, I mean, it's those guys. They rush hard. They rush well. They work together. So we just got to keep doing a good job coaching them, laying out a good plan for them so that they can go out there, play fast and execute. But same as the communication, I don't think it can. I don't think we're capped out yet. I think we can still improve in that area as well.
Could you talk about Javon Parker a little bit? Jed had said that he was going to be a starter. He was pegged to be a starter, and then he got injured, so he's had to battle his way back. But looking at some of the video in the recent weeks, he looks like he's really disruptive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, we got a good front, and we got some depth. So, keeping those guys fresh, keeping them rolling is definitely a good thing. But, yeah, a lot of those guys have disruptive plays, him for sure. But, yes, we just got to keep them healthy and make sure they can go out there and play fast.
Has he got quickness or strength, or what's his best attribute?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a good combination of both those: strength, quickness, size, and yeah, I think it's it's a good product.
Jay talked about it a little bit. What allows Voight Tanupi to be so effective in this defense?
Say that one more time.
What allows Voight Tanupi to be so effective in this defense?
I mean, I just think his versatility and his toughness. And he's smart. He's tough. He plays hard. He can line up anywhere from over the center to outside the tight ends. This guy's a really good player. He doesn't fit the mold, which, I kind of like that about him. He's not your prototypical anything. But he's a great football player. I love working with him. He's smart and he's tough, and he plays really hard. And so he may not fit, a certain column on the depth chart, but you see him out there a lot because he's a really good football player. So I love working with him, and he brings a lot to our defense. Starting with his toughness and his effort, and he's a really good player.
BC, you guys have done a lot of rotating on the O-line, but that right side has stayed very consistent with Drew and what have you really liked about that partnership?
Yeah, they work really well together. They're good communicators on that side. They give us a good tough edge over there. They give some toughness. They're both really good players. They're both just getting the first real playing time. Even though we brought both of them over from different places, they've been able to work together really well. They've been really consistent.
Brennan, Washington's offense has been pretty explosive the first 4 weeks of the season. I think Rutgers ranked toward the top of the country last year, fewest explosives allowed. What about that defense makes it challenging to kind of get over the top? Yeah,
they're really well built front, good in the back end. They're really tough against the run. They want to come up and hit you. They got a very high percentage pressure team, which is something we're going to have to handle, and we're on our way working towards that right now. So they're very disruptive. So they'll also be able to they can knock you off your rhythm if you're not paying attention to their pressures and stuff like that. So you can see why their defense is effective. It's going to cause turnovers. It's caused a lot of turnovers in the last, just in the games that we've been kind of scouting, we've watched. So they got a good front. They got a good group, man. Senior laden, like a lot of guys played a lot of football for them.
Steve, what's the hardest thing about long snapping that maybe the average fan doesn't understand or think about?
I don't know. It kind of depends. If you rush on the center, or if you rush the snapper, then number one, you got to have a good snap. That's where it all starts. But if they put a dangerous player on you and rush the snapper, which a lot of teams do, but some teams don't, then you got your hands full, and you better not worry about coverage. You better just get a good snap and protect the punter. It doesn't matter how you cover.
Did learning that skill, even like growing up and stuff, help you see the game differently at all?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time with my grandpa growing up, and that was always something that, may not be, you're not the quarterback, but everybody's got a long snapper. Someone's got to do it, and it's important. And so he always, spent a lot of time with me on that, and I really appreciate that. And he valued that position probably different than anybody else in the world. But it is important, the importance of it. And you got to have one on the team. I know it's not the quarterback, but it's an important position, and you got to have somebody to do it. But yeah, my grandpa was he was someone who taught me a lot about football, and that was one thing he always made me do.
Do you see a correlation between lacrosse and football? I know obviously lacrosse is a stick and ball sport. Different principles apply, but do you see any correlation between the two, or any overlap that you've drawn?
I mean, outside of like relationships and locker room stuff, no, they're different sports.
Oh, there's that physicality, man. Is what I was trying to add.
Yeah, football's football's different.
Brennan, is there anything else? I mean, you mentioned cadence with offensive line, but first road trip of the year couldn't be further away, and hostile environment. But is there anything else you're emphasizing on offense? I know there's an excitement with it too, going to a road trip, but.
Yeah. We'll have to manage the crowd. We'll have to manage the travel. It's the first big trip. There's a lot of things we're working on. Luckily, we've done, both Jed and I and Coach Belichick have all had to make cross-country trips to go play games. Where in kind of the Pac-12, you get away from that. We've got some experience with the scheduling and the time frames and stuff like that. So we think we got a good plan for this one to give our guys the best chance to be fresh for the game. And the travel back too. So it's all a long season. So this all matters, and to do things the right way.
Advantage with Will Rogers. I mean, just being a veteran guy.
For sure. Yeah, having a veteran guy taking the snap is always a huge deal. But I think these guys have grown together. Getting to see these guys out there practice last night, they're ready to go. They're really excited for this challenge. I don't think this is going to be too big a moment for them, and I think we're going to go give our best shot and hopefully play our best game.
On the uniqueness of this week for both of you, what did you get out of actually starting practice under the lights a little bit later than an in-season practice normally would be last night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a blast. The guys had a great attitude about it. It's just a different day for them, and they handled it great. So really appreciate the guys, taking to that. A little change of schedule, but flying around last night, great juice, great vibes. Hopefully we can do it again today.
Steve, Greg Schiano told a story about on the sideline during a game. He asked you to tell him if he did a call twice in a row and just to tap him, and you punched him in the ribs. I was just wondering what your perspective on that moment was.
Yeah, Coach Schiano, he's a mentor to me. I love working for him. If he says that's a story, that's a story. I'll back him no matter what.
All right, we got Jonah and Mark for Carson. Give me a second. Through your head when you see a defensive back kind of dipping his head and then you take off like an airplane off a runway?
It was just something that just happened. Honestly, I can't even explain it to you. It was just a reaction.
You didn't consult Giles before that?
Huh?
You didn't get any tips from Giles before that?
Nah, I'm not really a hurdler, but the opportunity presented itself, and we needed some life at the time, so I just did it.
Carson, did it take some work to get ready to be able to play last week coming off the injury, or not so much?
Definitely took a lot of work. I feel like whatever injury can really get dealt my way, especially what happened with the Apple Cup with our trainers. Our trainers I feel like are the best in the country. Jackie was kind of the head trainer that was running my rehab. Obviously we have Tom and Jory and all of them as well, just kind of helping out wherever I need it. So it's something that I kind of took day by day. I wasn't sure really how I was going to feel, how I was going to recover. I met with the team docs really kind of throughout the week, kind of getting updates. Practice last week, it was pretty light for me just to try to work on rehab. I wasn't really able to strike during the week, but we were able to do everything that we needed to do for myself, and they helped me out a lot just to be able to go out there and play.
Carson, Jonah was asked about the leap. Put yourself in the shoes of a defender that he just jumped over. How would you deal with that, watching that on film the next week and having your teammates seeing that?
Yeah, something I don't want to happen to me. Obviously, I feel like the biggest thing why it happens is the defensive player puts their head down. Obviously, we're told don't look down to the ground because that can cause a lot of injuries, spinal, back, all of that. So it's really about form. But, obviously, when you have a kind of stocky running back like Jonah running at you, sometimes you don't want to just stud him up. You want to put your head down and go low. And obviously he got what he said presented the opportunity, so he took it.
Yeah. Jonah, do you practice that, honestly, during the week? Jumping over things, hurdling over things?
Yeah, Coach Graham taught me. No, I'm just playing. But, I didn't practice it. I feel like that was the highest I ever jumped, according to the strength staff. But, like I said, the opportunity presented itself, and it's just something that happened.
Carson, you were named Dog of the Week after coming off the injury and everything. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. Obviously, it's an award that Fish kind of started with us this year with this new team. And for me, getting that. Throughout the week, I'll be honest, for myself, I didn't know if I was going to play or not. The shoulder felt pretty banged up. Obviously, I wasn't able to practice much going into that game. So it was one of those things, but for me, I kind of looked at it, I'm like, this program means a lot to me. I've been here a long time, and this is my last year. So I need to take every opportunity I can to go out there and play and help this team win. So that was really my mindset throughout the week, just kind of staying here late, doing as much extra as I can to get back for this team. And that was something I was able to do, and obviously Coach Fish kind of rewarded me that achievement, it felt good.
What do you do to rehab that particular injury? Like, what sort of things did they have you doing?
A lot of it, we call it hip mat, get the swelling out, a lot of range of motion. I didn't really have much range of motion after the game, after the Apple Cup, and then even the few days after. So really just kind of work on range of motion and then trying to get the strength back.
What was going through your mind coming off the field at the Apple Cup with that injury? Obviously, you were in a lot of pain, but just kind of what were you thinking at that time?
In my mind, I was pretty disappointed just kind of in myself. Obviously, I knew I couldn't really control it. Like, injuries happen, it's part of the game. But it was one of those things where it was hard for me kind of going in the locker room, getting pictures of it, and then basically being declared I'm not able to play for the rest of the game. It was hard because, I mean, I know this is my last Apple Cup, and I want to do everything I could to go out there and help our team win. And not being able to do that was definitely tough. But once again, like Steve has said it many times, that when one person goes down, that's the reason why we practice. It's next man up mentality. And I feel like we have a lot of good linebackers in our room that are able to play at any given time.
Did your career kind of flash in front of your eyes on that? Because when I saw you off the field, you were so kind of disjointed or awkward. I thought that might be a season-ending injury. And I remembered that you told me, I have a redshirt year, but I'm not going to use it. And I was wondering, did you ever think the worst when you were in all that pain?
I wasn't too sure what to think at the time. The pain was high, I'll be honest. So I was kind of more focused on that and just trying to figure out what it was. I didn't know if it popped out, if it was collarbone, ACL. Like, I had no idea at the time. It just hurt. And then obviously we got to go back in and get pictures of it. But based off like the pictures, I was able to talk to the doctors, and they said like, hey, like, yeah, you banged it up, but this is not giving me something crazy long. Like, this is not a season-ending injury. So I kind of got that clarification right away from them.
Jonah, when the year began, question for both of you guys, actually, there were, 50 whatever new players in the team, which basically there's like half the roster doesn't really know anybody. How much tighter have you guys become? How much have you bonded, you think, in just the last 3 or 4 months as a team? How much closer are you guys?
Extremely close. Like you said, 50 new guys came in, and it's hard to like get to know 50 guys in such a short time span. But I feel like just being around each other, doing mind time, going through camp, and even the loss that we took, I felt brought us even closer than we were before. It's just things that you go through with these guys, just brings you closer. Like, we do the same thing every day. We around each other all day, every day for 6 hours plus. Like, whether if you like them or not, like, you're gonna have to come together. So that's kind of and Fish does a good job of implementing the family culture that we have here, and everyone bought in and everyone committed, and that's what it's been.
Are there guys on the team that you don't like, and who are those guys? I'm just kidding.
Carson.
Same for you. Just how much have you guys bonded?
I mean, I agree with Jonah 100%. Obviously, with a lot of new people coming in, that was a challenge that we were faced for sure, especially with the whole new staff. I mean, getting to know the coaches even and kind of learn their philosophies and how they go about practice and their meetings and all of that. But even with the players, I mean, it's been easy, I would say, in a sense, because we're with each other every single day. We're around each other. We're practicing. We're able to do kind of team bonding activities. We have mind time where we kind of will be able to get in groups, and the groups change every single time. New coaches, new players, and really just you get to talk about football, but you get to talk about life. So it kind of at that point helps you get to understand who this person is, not just as a football player and as a teammate, but really who they are as a person, like just in the real world. Because at the end of the day, like, football's football, and we're just here playing the sport.
Carson, Rutgers leads the Big Ten Conference in rushing yards. What's the message been from Steve going into this week?
Yeah, stop the run, tackle. I mean, that's the biggest thing. They have a great back. They have 2 great backs, actually. And it's something where they're the type of offense, I feel like, where they're like, all right, we don't care if you know what we're doing. We're just going to do it better than you. And we're going to take that as a challenge where we're going to come in. I mean, we've been preaching it already throughout this week, coming into a short week, too. Just all 11 to the hat and tackling, wrapping up, and bringing the ball carrier down.
Jonah, on the other side of that, what's been the offensive message this week, and how do you feel you can attack this Rutgers defense, which looks like it's pretty well coached on film?
Just going back to the fundamentals, we only stop ourselves. Just looking back on tape, the past games we had, the only reason why we didn't score every single drive is because ourselves. And self-inflicting wounds like penalties and misreads and mental errors and stuff like that. And so just really been focusing on the fundamentals this week, practicing harder than we ever been, and just get after it. At the end of the day, it's football, and we can go out there and play football.
Are there specific ways, Jonah, that offense is focused on, coaching-wise, is focused on limiting those penalties and cleaning things up? I mean, is there something in addition, especially after the Washington State game?
It's just everybody do their job. Stop trying to be Superman. Stop trying to do someone else's job. Just trust the man next to you and just trust what your coach to do, And that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
How excited are you guys for the first Big Ten road trip? I mean, the first true road trip of the year, first non-neutral site since November last year for you, Carson.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, obviously it's going to be a long flight getting over there, but I'm excited. I mean, I don't know the last time I've been in New Jersey, and I mean, I've never stepped foot on Rutgers campus, so that's the one thing I feel like the Big Ten brings, especially here to our football team, is just kind of like the newness, but the excitement behind that as well. I've been able to play in a lot of stadiums, NFL, college as well, throughout my career here, and this is a stadium I haven't played in, so it's something I kind of get to check off, almost like a little football bucket list in a way, just be able to see all these new sites and play these new teams.
Carson, you guys had 3 picks in the last 2 games. You had one of them against Northwestern. Do you feel the defense as a whole is getting closer to forcing more turnovers on a consistent basis?
Yeah, that's always our kind of message and our challenge each week is punch the ball out, interceptions, takeaways. Obviously, you could bring up all the statistics on, hey, if you get this amount, you have this amount of chance to win. But, I mean, that's been mentioned, but at the end of the day, we're out there just basically doing our job. That's something Jonah just even said, hey, don't be Superman. Just do what you're told and do your responsibility. And if all 11 do that, it's hard to beat you at that point. I mean, any team can say that, any player can say that, but it's the truth. And I mean, it's something that we harp every single week is turnovers. We harp it in practice. So if we have an opportunity to take the ball away, it's got to be ours.
Jonah, both Coach Fish and Coach Carroll have talked this week about changing the cadence up in preparation for that first road game. Does that change your process at all from the backfield, or is it kind of same as usual for you?
No, just watch the ball, being disciplined. I have my best games on the road, so I'm excited to finally go take a trip. So, it don't really change nothing. Just watch the ball. For the backs, you don't really move into the ball. It's different for backs and receivers because you back there and you right next to the quarterback and you pretty much see what's going on. So there's no reason why you should be false starting.
Why do you have those games on the road?
It's just pretty much just being with Fish for my past 2 years and even this year. We always been the underdogs. We've always been, the person, the team or the people that everyone looked down on. So just having your back against the wall and having everybody against you is it's a good feeling because it's a chance to, prove everybody wrong and, punch them in the mouth when they're not expecting it. So that's just something that I've embraced, just being with Coach Fish. I don't know why it's always us, but hey, it is what it is.
Is there a certain game you remember statistically last year? I mean, you've had big games this year, but on the road last year.
Colorado was a big one, 11 for 179. That was a big one. USC was we didn't win, but y'all know how that game ended. But 20 for 150, But yeah.
Anything else? All right. Hey, appreciate you guys. Thank you.